You guys are listening to the Jordan Garber NOW Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. All right, everybody. Welcome to Jordan Garber NOW here for December the 11th, 2020. We have a lot to go on, including a news update here from none other than Phil Stamper, an interview with Will Allday, some words with Rob Steele, Stewart calls in, and our main event interview for the evening, none other than Nico's Ricos, here on the Jordan Garber NOW Podcast. All the action, all the interviews are coming up next.
Newest and hottest in the world of pro wrestling? Then check out the amazing action on Powerslam.tv, the biggest indie pro wrestling channel in the world. Get over 6,000 hours of the best events from over 150 of your favorite promotions from 20 different countries around the globe. Brands like Progress Wrestling, Evolve Wrestling, Combat Zone, Defy, PCW Ultra, PWX, Over the Top, Shine, and hundreds of others with fresh content added every day for only $5.99 per month. Get your free trial today at Powerslam.tv.
You heard them. Use promo code PowerSlamNow. Welcome to the Jordan Garber NOW news update for December the 8th, 2020. I am not the star of the show this time. Obviously, our co-host Phil Stamper is here. We are talking about wrestling news here, and what a magical day in professional wrestling. And I know that we were talking a little before the show, and you weren't as excited as I was, but NWA was on today. Impact Wrestling was on today. VOC Nation had In the Room on today. There's just a lot of wrestling podcasts. There's a lot of wrestling shows in total going on, but NWA Shockwave and Impact Wrestling was my favorite, and my favorite match tonight was the Thunder Rosa match. Before we get into that, I want you to dig deep there on Impact there, Mr. Stamper. Were you a big fan of what happened tonight?
I honestly had a mixed reaction. I mean, I'll be very honest, and I've said this before. I think Impact Wrestling has probably had some of the best wrestling product. If you look at it from just a strict, like, who are some of the better wrestlers or who has put on the best matches in the last year, it really has been Impact. However, they're not as strong on the production side as a WWE or even an AEW, and because they don't have any live crowd, not even like their own roster at ringside, and you lose that effect of the crowd noise, I think they struggled with it the most. Then, you know, they were doing the best when everybody was kind of in a silent room. Like they were filling their space with noise enough that you could watch it and like, okay, I feel still pumped about it. And now that everybody else has a room full of noise, they don't. And it's a very noticeable distinction on how they're different right now.
When I heard that news, man, like, I was hyped. Kenny Omega, who's on Jordan Garber NOW, who's on here in the past, was a great guest. He's going to be the star. He's like on top of the wrestling world. He's on Impact with Don Callis. But like we were talking about earlier, like, I feel like it was a big showcase for nothing. And it's like, are we going to have them on again in the future, or is it slowly going to die down? You know, and I kind of worry about that sometimes. Like, what's your take on that? You know, was it what you expected?
And I don't, yes and no at the same time, because there was a lot of high hopes. I have a weird motto in life about high hopes and low expectations. So there was this certain thought in my brain of like where they could go with it and where they might go with it. And I felt like they didn't really go as high as my highest hope, but they didn't go as low as my lowest hope either. So it kind of flittered between the two and left this sort of vagueness about what was going to happen in the future. And through the course of it, I know you. I think it was in the first hour where you saw an appearance from Tony Khan and Tony Schiavone doing a commercial for AEW that was also into the storyline of what was happening to try to drive some traffic over on to Wednesday nights from Impact. The video content that was built around what happened last week on Dynamite that started Impact, I thought was really, really strong. And because I don't have Access TV, I watched on their Twitch stream. And in between matches, when they were doing commercial breaks for television, they were showing sort of retro moments from Impact's past. And as I'm streaming through the chat, people got a little bit disenfranchised because it's like, wait a minute, we're like mid-match. We get that it's a commercial break, but this isn't aligning with your current product. And it was a lot of reflection on people who were in AEW, some of those matches then were with people who were still in Impact, and then an AJ Styles match. And it was like, well, wait a minute, like, well, what are you trying to do at this time where you're getting new eyes on your product? Who are you really trying to reflect and to showcase? And because I know that Impact has pre-taped a lot of their events, there was that question in my mind, like, how much of this was built around what they're going to show today? Like, how much of this was built in the last time they all came together to do the pre-tape to get ready? Did they bring some guys down to do, small segments? The moment with Rich Swann in the end, not being allowed in the parking lot because the world champion was there. Rich getting a little bit perturbed because he is the Impact world champion. And it's like, well, wait a minute. I'm the champion. What are you talking about? And when Josh Matthews first walked into the bus of Don Callis and Kenny Omega and no one was there, I was like, oh, did they totally swerve everybody? And they didn't, because they were there. But I felt like the promo was a promo for the sake of a promo, because it didn't give anything about what was going to be coming next. It just sort of retold the fact that Don Callis and Kenny Omega have this history together, this really long-term history, including I'm going to mess up the name, the Golden Sheik, who was the uncle of Kenny Omega, who introduced a 10-year-old Kenny Omega at the time to the world of professional wrestling and met Don Callis, and that, like, the Golden Sheik protected Don Callis when he got into wrestling. So now it's Don Callis' turn to help Kenny Omega in the world of wrestling, and that they kind of came up with this together for years on how they would dominate the world of professional wrestling, and put over how they booked the Chris Jericho moment with Kenny Omega at New Japan. It wasn't New Japan. How Don Callis worked behind the scenes to get into AEW, and it wasn't Impact driving it. It wasn't Tony Khan allowing it. He did it with Kenny Omega allowing him to get that foot in the door. So there was some interesting moments in that telling the story, but it was sort of then what happens next. And beyond, watch tomorrow for AEW for more. And even that was sort of a softball. You really didn't get what was next. There was sort of this pitch of Kenny Omega saying, I collect things. I liked collecting things. And is that a reference to he might come back and try to win the Impact World Championship? That was sort of left this big open door without really addressing it. And so there's part of me that then
wondering.
It does, to a degree, but I felt like the delivery was missing. Because for me to tell you what I just did took maybe 2 minutes. To watch it, I think, was the last 15 minutes of the program. And so it just ate so much time. And that was the only downfall of that segment, because then with that, walking out of it not going, well, is he going to challenge somebody? I guess we're watching tomorrow on Dynamite without really saying, watch us tomorrow on Dynamite for what we're going to say next. It left sort of this big open question of what's going on, more than, oh, this is about to happen, or here's the door that they might be leaving open. It was like I'm having to process it to get it out, where they did it for 15 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Now, there's one thing I do need to bring up on this news update is, I don't know if you watched it, but the match between Thunder Rosa and Priscilla Kelly was absolutely amazing. It really, really made tonight a good vibe, and that was the match that really set that magical night in pro wrestling for myself, in my opinion. Maybe the hype wasn't as big as it was, but that match was absolutely incredible. Did you catch that? Do you recall catching that match?
You said that it was just an amazing match to watch.
Yeah.
You broke up there a little bit. Sorry, did I miss did I miss you?
That's my fault. That was my internet connection there quickly. I just had to reboot something. But no, yeah, Priscilla Kelly and Thunder Rosa. An amazing match. They're on NWA Shockwave. Reached heights, and I thought it was an absolutely incredible match. Did you catch it?
Unfortunately, I didn't, but I saw a lot of the comments about it online, and that people just very much like you seem to love the match, that it was just such a a wonderful match to observe.
No, absolutely, no doubt about that. All right. Well, in terms of our news update here, we like to have some non-wrestling talk as well. Are you into like UFOs or anything like stuff like that?
I am a little bit, yeah.
Do you have any like
I'm,
UFO sightings or funny stories you could share with us or anything?
so years ago, I lived in a town called Shepherdstown, West Virginia, and it's actually more recent history been featured on a History Channel, I think it was History or Travel Channel show called Ghosts of Shepherdstown, and it has a lot of paranormal connection, a lot of historical connection, both to the Civil War and the Revolutionary War here in the United States. And it's right across the river, the Potomac River, from the Antietam battlefield. So even then, one of the most historic battlefields that has a lot of record of haunting happening. There's a lot of sort of paranormal stories that have developed out of Shepherdstown. And it happened to be, go figure, on Halloween night, I'm coming back home to Shepherdstown, and the battlefield's to the left of me, and I'm looking over like, am I going to see anything spooky? And as I look across the river, as it typically does near that body of water, got a little hazy. And I was looking above the town. I'm like, that's weird. I see these lights in the clouds. And as I looked up, I'm like, wait a minute. It's not like a whole bunch of lights. It's 3 specific points of light in the shape of a triangle, and like an elongated triangle. So like 1 point on one end, and then 2 are points in line with each other. And I'm like, Phil, you're just, your brain's just making things believe what you want to believe. And I'm watching it, and I couldn't see through the cloud to see it, but they all were at the same height. It all hovered. And then they all raised up together and left the cloud bank.
Wow.
So I never saw an object. I just saw the lights. And I'm like, that's a little freaky to me. Because again, who knows what it was? It's a freaky experience. And I don't know I think I have an idea of where you're going to go next, but I don't know.
No, actually, like I've never had any UFO sightings or UFO stories or anything. That's why I want to get people's perspective and see what it's like, because like I want to be ready when I see it, because like I believe in aliens. I do believe that there is some other form of life out there, and I believe that UFOs prove it. So it just it's good to get a good amount of stories and perspectives. That way hopefully when I have a story and perspective, I'm ready for it and I don't die.
Did you see the story that's in the news then about the former head of Israel's defense ministry?
No, not
talking
yet,
about.
actually.
So yesterday, this story broke, and I actually had to pull it up just to make sure I got his right name. Hamish Shed, who's the former head of Israel's defense ministry, contact already that there's this gigantic galactic federation that they don't think humanity is really ready for us to know, but they're sort of protecting us, and they want to work together with us. And that all the presidents know about it, all major leaders of the world know about it, but that humanity just isn't ready yet. And he said, this gentleman, I believe he is now 80 years old, and he's saying, if I said this even 5 years ago, I would have been, kicked out of. I'd have been kicked out of my job. I would have been, laughed at all over the place. And he's like, I have enough respect of my peers. I'm a retired general. This is real. And it's like, oh, this is interesting. It's really, really interesting.
Wow. I'm going to have to check that out, and definitely all of our Jordan Garber Now listeners can check it out. If you guys have any more comments, throw in a suggestion. I'm going to throw you guys in a draw to win yourselves a hat, autograph photo card, your choice. So be sure to stay tuned for the Jordan Garber Now podcast, and always contribute to the news update because it's yours as well. And Phil Stamper, I want to thank you for helping me fill in here this week on the news update, and we look forward to having you on next week's Jordan Garber Now news update.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Jordan Garber Now podcast. We have none other than Will Allday on the program. Will, great to be with you, man.
Hey, good to be here, Jordan. Thanks for having me.
Great to have you on. And, you definitely had quite the journey in professional wrestling, appearing on WWE and Impact, but you had some of the best training development programs anyone could ask for. And that was being with Booker T and Reality of Wrestling. And, when it comes to that, do you feel overwhelmed getting that sort of development, that sort of coaching, or is that something you kind of just soaked in like a sponge?
No, I mean, that's exactly what I shot for. That's exactly what I was looking for. I've been an athlete my whole life, so I've always, played at an elite level in sports, whether that be baseball, basketball, football. I played football in college at a D1 college, and so that's just kind of how I was wired. My whole family's been athletes and pro athletes, and it's just been ingrained in us from when we were young. So, it was just another day in the life for me. But, not being in the wrestling world my whole life, it was definitely cool. It was definitely very, very cool to be trained by somebody and mentored by somebody that I grew up watching.
Definitely. What were those few fundamentals that you can just remember learning for the first time that you'll never forget, just like riding a bike or something?
Man, well, he's got guys underneath him that really do the day-to-day stuff, and they teach you the techniques and the fundamentals. He's at such an elite level that he doesn't waste his time there, and he doesn't really do a whole lot of that. He does more of the psychological aspects. He does the stuff to give you the seasoning to your steak. He puts that little extra cherry on top of your sundae. And so that's awesome to have, because I didn't go into this wanting to do this for fun or just because I loved it. I wanted to do this to get to that top level. I wanted to be, a pro athlete and, main event WrestleMania. I wanted to be, on top of the card everywhere I go. And so if I was going to do that, I was going to do it right. And, there's no place better than Reality of Wrestling and Booker T's. And that's, where I started. I've been doing this now for 2 years and some change. And, hopefully this roller coaster ride keeps going up.
2 years, 2 major promotions, man. That's absolutely unbelievable. And that's why you picked the best school. You get what you put in. And I want to say good on you for that. And, after training, building up that chemistry and learning for the first time, working in front of crowds, different kinds, whether that's children, bars, pubs, it's amazing. And that kind of explains your experience with championship wrestling from Hollywood and Wrestle Circus to start things out. Man, how was that for you just to start out? What a great foundation to begin at.
Yeah, I mean, they're both awesome promotions, and like you said, 2 completely different atmospheres. That whole Wrestle Circus thing was such a wild ride. It was so fun. I got in right at the end before they kind of shut up shop, but it was something that I definitely needed, something I needed to dip my toe in before I started getting to all these bigger promotions. And I'm glad that I got to get in front of some elite talent there. And, Booker T and Reality of Wrestling really helped shape me and get me ready for TV to where when I went to Championship Wrestling for Hollywood or Primetime Live or the United Wrestling Network over on the West Coast, that I was completely ready to be in front of the camera. Like, this is at the end of the day a job. This is at the end of the day like your career, and this is how you make a living. And if you want to do this traveling from city to city, just going to these shows because you love it, that's great, and that's your prerogative. But I want to do this on TV, and so that's the place to be, is Reality of Wrestling here in Texas. And then on the West Coast with Dave Marquez, that's the place to be. And so I want to really refine my skills and my techniques, and there are no better places to do it than those.
That's awesome, man. And when you talk about like working in front of TV and in front of crowd, like how's the adjustment in terms of like learning different camera angles, reacting to that, hot spots, being, what is it? Oh, when I was refereeing, what was it called? Oh my God, I can't believe You have to. I don't know. I totally blanked out. Hard cam. Something about the hard cam. Yeah, you got to face the
Well,
hard
yeah,
cam. All those
the hard cam
adjustments.
is something you are always working if you're working on a TV show, but you can't neglect the roaming cams around you as well. And so if you're just working a show without TV, you're really working for the crowd most of it, and so you're making everything look big and embellished. And then when you have these TV cameras, you don't have to be so big and embellish so much because you need the little nuances that come off well on TV, and that's facials, that's you know doing the right things in the right positions. And so it's small changes, but it makes a huge difference when you're watching somebody who knows what they're doing on TV.
Absolutely. Let's talk about styles here. When you go down to the UK, it's definitely a culture shock. But like, compare UK style to US style. Was that something that you had a little trouble with, or is that something you just caught on with right away? Bang.
Not really, because my training, they did a really good job of kind of making sure you were ready for anything, and they made sure that no matter what type of style you were working and what opponent you were working, that you could mesh. And that's something I've worked on really hard, is making sure that I can do anything with anybody. That I kind of pride myself on that, and being able to brawl and being able to do lucha and fly high and then be technical. And I want to be so well rounded that I can have a good match with anybody. And Booker T does a good job of giving me that foundation, but it's up to us when we go out there to really put that into our matches and whatnot. And so that's something that I'm very cognizant about.
When you have an amazing mentor and coach like Booker T, it's amazing. But when you have a promotion that you're working with as well, and you see it build from the bottom to amazing heights, like them partnering with Impact Wrestling, and you being a part of that for one night. Sorry, I cut out there. What was that experience like for you?
That's right.
Sorry, what's that?
It was just another day in the life, man. It was just another day in the life. It was a whole new roster coming in, and trying to show that they were the better roster. And I think at the end of the day, we showed that that wasn't the case. The case was that we could hold our own with anybody. We just needed that platform. And so we are appreciative of Impact helping get some more eyes on us. But reality wrestling has some of the best talent around. It's just they are not as well known because they're not on as big of a platform as Impact and haven't been around as long. But I know that a lot of our top guys, Gino Medina, Rex Andrews, Ryan Davidson, Cam Cole, they all could work at any of these top companies and promotions all over the world, and wouldn't lose a step. They're top tier guys, and that's what Booker does, is he produces top talent. And so when we went there, we showed that we belong at that level.
Awesome stuff, man. Definitely, and it shows, that's for sure. When it comes down to let's cover WWE there quickly. It's a very rare situation for like an enhancement talent to basically be put over a little bit, and not just that, but be a part of like a milestone wrestling moment. What was it like for you getting that call at that time, having that little extra advantage over the others?
That was actually that was pretty surreal, because that was only a handful of months into me wrestling, into my career. And so I didn't know it was going to come that quickly. And it was in Houston, my hometown. It was in the Toyota Center. And so not only were the people that I've known my whole life watching or even in the crowd, but people all around the world were watching, millions of people. And that's something very surreal, because you get into this business, or at least I did, to do that, to be on that show, to be on Monday Night Raw, to be with WWE. And so, even that little kernel, it gave me a little taste of something I knew I wanted. And, once I tasted it, I knew that that's exactly where I wanted to be. And so, like I said, Booker does a really good job getting us prepared for stuff like that. One of the sayings he always has is, the best form of luck is preparation, and you better be I was absolutely prepared. There were no nervous butterflies in me. There were excited butterflies because I knew that this is what I wanted to do, and it was my time to capitalize on my opportunity, and I'll be back.
With all the work around, there's so much going on, and you are definitely have an eye on by many major promotions. A lot of people have their eyes on you. And, that kind of comes to my next question in terms of goals and future plans that you have. Where do you want to see yourself? Do you want to be in Japan? Do you want to be in Europe? Obviously everyone wants to go to WWE, but, let's always think outside the box. Like, there's a lot of amazing places in Europe, like Germany, Amsterdam, all those places. Where are like 3 places that you just want to cover?
Well, I definitely want to go to Japan. I think that would be very, very cool because being an athlete my whole life, I do really enjoy the sport-based wrestling there. And, with a lot of this empty arena TV tapings that we've had to do during this quarantine stuff, a lot of the guys have to kind of do more sport-based style because there is no crowd to play off of. You're just working the cameras and you're just working in that ring with your opponent. And so to me, I haven't missed a beat because I feel at home doing something like that. And I think Japan is the perfect place to also emulate that. Another place I think, around the world, I think Mexico would be pretty cool because those fans are so like rowdy and crazy and they love their lucha. And I think that I could seamlessly fit into doing something like that. And, I'd love to go back to England because, that's where most of my family's from. And I just love the culture over there. I love the passion for wrestling over there. I love the chanting that they do. It's definitely something that makes it makes a lot of the shows. A lot of those fans come over for WrestleMania and the night after WrestleMania and the big NXT shows, and you see like the difference in the crowd when there are those types of fans there.
We always like to do a top 3 here on the Jordan Garber Now podcast, and that top 3 will be of me asking top 3 road trip experiences. Like, where are 3 places that you love to go down for a road trip to perform in front of a crowd?
Well, I love going to Los Angeles, and that's because that's Hollywood. That's a silver screen, and that's where people go to be stars. And so I love doing that. I've been to Chicago, and the fans there, no matter what sport they're supporting, are always pretty crazy. And then again, I love going to the UK. I love those fans. I love the passion and the energy they give the performers.
Awesome, man. Where can people follow you on social media, whether they're listening all the way here from Canada, United States, or India, anywhere?
You can follow me at any of the social medias or YouTube. My handle is at I am Mr. Allday. Again, my name is Will Allday. I'm about to put up a merch shop. It's IamMrAllday.com. And so, you just got to remember that one handle. It's pretty easy. I use the same thing for everything. So if you're looking for me, then, that's the place to go.
Awesome, man. Will Allday on the Jordan Garber Now podcast. Well, thanks for being on the show.
Hey, thanks, Jordan.
All right, guys, welcome to Jordan Garber Now. We are here with none other than CNWA promoter, none other than Rob Steele. Rob, how you doing today, man? Are you there?
Yes, you cut out for a second, my friend.
Weird, I don't know why I keep cutting out, but welcome to the show. Hopefully you are doing well, and, how have you been? It's been a long time since you last been on the program.
Very, very busy. Things may be shut down here, but the phones are always still going. Been talking to lots of talent and stuff. There's been some exciting news in Alberta lately. Friends of mine, Heart Legacy Wrestling, just bought their own building this week, and they have some big expansion plans. They're going to put a wrestling school in there. They're going to have an MA school in there, and I think even boxing too. And they're also going to convert the space into a music venue and also a wrestling venue space for, I think, to host some Heart Legacy events in the near future. So it's pretty exciting.
And Heart Legacy Wrestling has always ran a great show, a great product. Just exactly how big is this for Heart Legacy Wrestling, and why is a new new building for them the thing they need right now?
Well, I think it's exciting because I don't know any promotion in Western Canada that has their own building, like their own home base. They don't have to worry about renting a hall or getting liability insurance and dealing with second parties and politics from city. They could do what they want. They could put in their own sound system, set the venue up the way they want. There's no politics or anything. They're kind of free to do what they want. So it's kind of like it's freedom and stuff. And it's also good for the talent too, because there's a home-based venue that they can always perform in. They don't ever have to take down the ring at all. It's always there. So they can even go in earlier during a show and, practice beforehand. So it's, there's a lot of potential.
No, definitely, no doubt about that. And it should be great to see what they develop in the future. Now, talk about what you've been developing. You have a lot of shows coming up in Alberta here for 2021. A lot of things in the works. A lot of stars you brought. Just talk about the legacy so far of the CNWA in Alberta and what you're looking to do in the future over there.
Well, right now we're kind of shut down, but we're hopefully going to be running in January in Red Deer. We have Stone Rockwell, who's appeared on Impact. He'll be taking on Jude Dawkins in the main event, so that will be amazing. And hopefully we're going to have Jeremy Prophet there. Then February we're going to come back to your neck of the woods, Winnipeg, and we have a great show with Josh Alexander from Impact is going to be there. And then in March we're going to have a huge show in Edmonton. We have Tyson Dux, who's a great, who's in the Cruiserweight Classic for WWE, and plus who's kind of a legend in the, of course, in the Canadian indie scene, of course. And I think he's done shots for Impact and other stuff. And we also have some works of other stars, like maybe we've been in talks with Vampiro, who might be a regular on some of our shows too. And once the border opens, we'll have Teddy Hart and Jake Christ and Sal Renaro, Tim Storm, Barrett Brown, who was the last NWA light heavyweight champion, WCW star Lodi, Chase Owens, the Heat Seekers, their former NWA tag team champions on many occasions, and many other great stars, hopefully appearing in our ring in the near future. But lots of cool, exciting stuff going on. And we're not only going to be in Alberta, we're going to be in Manitoba, Saskatchewan, probably a few shots in Northwest Territories, and even talk of me running up in Nunavut or the Yukon, and even British Columbia. So we're kind of hoping to run all over Western Canada.
I believe the last time wrestling was run in Nunavut was Border City Wrestling back in the early 2000s. So if that's the case, that would definitely be some history being made. What makes you want to go up to perform in those territories? It's very rough going up there, very cost-effective. What makes you think it's going to be a home run?
Well, I grew up in the territories. I lived there about 10 years out of my lifetime in Yellowknife and Hay River, so I kind of know that culture and stuff. And there's quite a, when anything goes up there, it's very precious to them, and they really, the fans are really enthusiastic. And, sometimes you can get some great crowds up there, because I remember when, I think it was CWF, way back in 2006, they came up to my...
Can-Am as well.
They came up to Hay River, and they drew 900 people with the Honky Tonk Man.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Amazing. That's pretty good for any type of indie show. And they were there for 2 days, and they had 900 people every night, which is pretty good for a town of 4,000 people.
It reminds you of the good old days of those old winter tours that I used to do. But, I only did one, but... It was still pretty fun, and going up there would definitely be something that would be a huge highlight for any wrestler in their career, because once you're up there, it's culture shock, and wrestling, it's pretty much, the community loves it. It's all they got sometimes, and it's good to entertain those families that need it.
And the way we kind of have it planned, we kind of want to do it over a stretch of we kind of have the route kind of figured out, because I used to do concert promoting up there. We kind of would start in Edmonton, drive up to let's say Slave Lake, work our way up to Peace River, and then go up to High Level, and then hit Hay River, and then hit Yellowknife, and then some smaller towns on the way heading back again. So, kind of do it in a week or so.
Absolutely.
So it's more stretched out.
Who are some guys in the CNWA that really caught your eye that you have a big eye on for the future?
Oh, Jude Dawkins, he's definitely going to be kind of the central thing of our promotion and ministry. Jeremy Prophet from out east is someone who we really want, who we like to see more in our ring because he's a believer. And Mentolo too. He's kind of the guys behind the scenes that have really given us a lot of advice and stuff, and who we see a bright future with, the long term thing, because it's cost effective when you bring in stars from overseas, but you always have to have a good local crew of guys too that are believers that believe in your product and help push it too.
Absolutely, no doubt about that. Looks like we covered quite a lot here for this week here, Mr. Steele. Anything else you want to give to our fans from around the world listening?
Just keep tuned. Stay tuned. We got some other stuff in the works. You never know who's going to show up in a CNWA ring in the near future. Once this COVID thing and the border opens, it's kind of open season, so be prepared. You might see people coming up here you never expect to be in a Canadian ring, so it's going to be quite exciting, I think.
Never say never. There's going to be a lot of exciting action in the CNWA yet to come. Thanks again, Rob Steele.
You're welcome.
All right, we got a caller calling in from New Jersey, and it's none other than Stuart, now residing in the Shore. Stuart, how's it going, my man?
Oh, it's great. I'm having a good night. How are you doing today, Jordan?
I'm doing good. As I'm recording this, it's Sunday night, so I'm sitting here looking out the window, reminiscing on the good times of the Jordan Garber Now podcast, on the good times of friendships and many good wrestling moments in my career, and I'm definitely enjoying it. It's a new start, and I always look forward to the future, but it's great to have you on, and you always have a lot of insight, commenting on social media, but I heard you had a question for me on the air today, and what question would that be?
Oh, it's a very important question, and feel free to not answer it if you feel uncomfortable, because it's kind of personal, but it has to do with pizza.
Ooh,
do you prefer, it's specifically for the crust, do you prefer thin crust, regular, or deep dish? And this is, again, very important, so feel free to not answer if you're uncomfortable.
I'm stuck between thin crust and deep dish. Oh my god. Have you ever gone, everybody listeners, if you ever go to Chicago or you live in Chicago, get deep dish pizza. It's the best thing ever, but a Domino's thin crust is pretty good too. I'm going to have to go with deep dish, I think.
Okay, all right. That's interesting. That's interesting. Yeah, you can eat one piece and it's a whole meal. It is pretty tasty, especially if it's done well.
Exactly. Was that the question? Because it's deep dish, it's the whole pizza.
Well, yeah.
Wow, you're a genius. Oh my goodness. What are your thoughts on the economy and it resurrecting, if that's a word, in the next 2 years?
Well, I think hopefully if things go well with the vaccine and we start getting things more under control, things will be able to open up more broadly, and then hopefully they'll start coming back. But there's a lot of things in the works besides that we still have to see what happens, right?
I think Ricky from the Trailer Park Boys should be the one given the vaccines. Or, as he would say, vaccines.
Do you think he really needs it, though? Because I think he's been exposed to everything, so he's just immune to whatever. I mean, for how many years has he lived sort of in the dirt or in his car?
Now, top 3 we like to do here. I like to talk about actors. Who are some top 3 actors, but let's not talk about their most famous. Well, that's kind of complicated. What are your top 3 favorite actors, and then we'll go into movies. I would say mine is Samuel L. Jackson, Coach Carter. I also like Ben Stiller, Starsky and Hutch, and what was one I recently watched? 22 Jump Street, with none other than, who is in 22? Fuck, I forget. Who's in 22 Jump Street there, Stuart?
I can't remember their names, man. I'm sorry. I wish
Chris Rock? I don't know. But I like the ending of 22 Jump Street because it was just, of all people, you didn't think would be the people killing everybody. It was her, and it's good. You should see it.
Oh, are you going to give away spoilers, man? You're going to ruin that movie for people.
Best movie.
You got to give warnings.
23 Jump Street. I just wish they would come up with, 93 Jump Streets. It's a good...
I don't know. I prefer 27 Jump Street. That's my preference.
Does that one exist?
I don't think so.
No?
No.
But if there's 21 Jump Street and 22 Jump Street, where would be number 1 Jump Street?
that would probably be like in the olden days. It would be like the 1800s.
Wow. I don't even think they had an FBI back. Did they have an FBI back in the 1800s? Probably not. I don't think police existed. Like, maybe not. Who knows? Well, like, cops existed, but no, like, nothing major. People on horses, that's it.
Maybe they had torches.
Or torches or something.
Yeah.
How would they arrest people? It makes you wonder, really go way back in time. I'm sure there's ways, but... Anyways, what other questions do we have here? If you could visit anywhere in the world, where would it be? While enjoying what beer?
Okay, this is a tough one, but honestly, I would probably go to Whistler, so I would go to BC, Canada, and honestly, I'd probably just have a Corona. I love Coronas.
Not the drink, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The beer, Corona Extra. Yeah.
It's very good beer. I have to say,
it is
very light, very smooth, tingles a little bit.
Have it with nachos or tacos. It's great.
Now, Domino's has released a chicken taco pizza. Have you heard of that?
Not only have I heard of it, I have tried it.
And how is it? Because I didn't buy it yet.
I found it was good, but you needed more sauce. So
too dry.
I would recommend getting like the buffalo dipping sauce with it, and then dipping it, and it'd be great.
And what drink would you have with that? You probably have to have quite a few of them because it's very a dry meal. But
yeah.
What's the drink of choice for that? Mountain Dew?
You go with Mountain Dew. Personally, I like going with Pepsi Max.
Pepsi Max? Is that like the decaffeinated aspartame Pepsi?
No, it's a diet, but it's got extra caffeine in it. There's more than the regular.
Oh, shit. Wow, I didn't even know that. First on this episode, guys, we interview Nikos Ricos in a Target parking lot, and now I just figured out what Pepsi Max is all about. Today has been a very good day. I appreciate that, Stuart. Is there anything else you have for us here on this program today?
Well, I had another question for you, actually.
Go ahead. The floor is yours.
Alright, so this one's not to do with food this time. But I wanted your opinion on what you think about the console wars. So Xbox versus Sony. Do you think there's a right side? Do you think that it's dumb that anyone takes a side? What's your opinion?
Well, I'll tell you what, and everyone's going to think I'm cheesy, but I love the PS1. I like the old games, I like the old hockey games, I liked all that. And Xbox provided that, but not at a level of control play that I enjoy, being a shitty gamer and everything. So, me being a Spyro fan, Crash Bandicoot, all that good stuff, you don't have that on Xbox. And with PS4, PS5, everything's backwards compatible, so not only can you play the newest hits that are probably on the Xbox One, but you can play the old school games as well. And I believe Xbox does not have that feature. So, I think I'm correct on that, am I? Is Xbox One backward compatible? And even if it is, the games back then on Xbox are not as good on PS1. So
yeah, the majority of Xbox games are backwards compatible on the Xbox, but I have to agree, just because of the actual titles that the different systems have, that my favorite is the PlayStation. But I think it's subjective. You like either of them; they're both great.
I don't have patience, so I'm not good at Call of Duty or Far Cry or games like that, because odds are I'm gonna be like Francis off of YouTube and throw a controller through the window. So that
might be funny to watch.
It would be. Apparently, as of late, everyone has been watching me get mad on social media as of late, and everyone's buying their ticket and enjoying it. Looks like you need something to do during the virus. But no, I don't want to get myself more angry, so I don't think Call of Duty is good for me. Unless I start a YouTube channel and rage on YouTube and everything. That could be my future, you never know.
You need to play some Animal Crossing or Bug Snacks on the PS5 if you ever got one of those.
How is Animal Crossing? Right, what do you do on that? You just cross with animals?
It is. It's just a relaxing time. You just build up your little island, and you can make your house bigger. You can decorate. You can grow plants. It's fun.
You know what? That seems more like a game for me. More like a game for me.
You can't fail. I mean, the most stressful thing is if you shake a tree, you might get attacked by bees, And
I don't know. That might get me mad.
That's a little unsettling, but you're fine. You just need some medicine and you'll be okay.
Man, what I miss is like the old Pokemon games, like Pokemon Crystal, Pokemon Red, Pokemon Ruby, Pokemon Yellow, and I only had one, and it was Pokemon Crystal, and it was my favorite game that I ever played. It was on the Game Boy Color. Do you have any memories, playing those early versions of Pokemon? Because they're sure as hell hard to get now.
Absolutely, I do, Jordan. Now, okay, I started and played in Red and Blue and Yellow. So like the first Game Boy games that came out, that's where I started. So I have a question based on that now, because I am familiar with the subject. What is the correct choice for the starter Pokemon in the original edition? Charmander, Squirtle, or Bulbasaur? What is the correct choice?
I hate Bulbasaur, but I like Charmander.
Okay, yeah, Charmander's good because then you can get Charizard, right?
Charizard apparently has the rarest Pokemon card of all time.
Really? I didn't know that.
The Charizard. Some super red holographic edition. There's so many stars on it. Did you used to collect the cards too?
Yeah, I have my old collection of them. I have a Charizard card somewhere.
What did the stars mean? The more the better, right?
I don't remember, because honestly, I never really played the card game. I was more into Magic the Gathering myself, and I just collected the cards because I liked the show. And I didn't have a big collection, but I did get a booster pack of Charizard. I kept that one.
I'm grateful to be a part of that era of gaming, before technology took over and everyone did that online. Like, in our schools, like, I never did it in the high school because, there would be the athletes, there would be the, average Joes, there would be people in the middle of those two, that was me, and then there's this Yu-Gi-Oh table, and they're not, like, they were in it. If you would go there and ask questions, they'd be, don't ask questions, we're playing, and that's why everyone wanted to hang out with them, but they didn't want anyone to hang out with them. They had their fucking circle, man. And, I remember doing that in elementary school, playing Yu-Gi-Oh! And, the Dark Magician. That my favorite fucking card. That guy was money. And, then I got it taken from my principal, and then I never played again. So, but yeah, that's how it started with me.
It's disappointing, man. It's too bad you got your card taken.
It was funny because I was in grade 6. And I had a hockey card collection and a Pokemon. I'd bring it all to school and trade. You used to trade with everybody, or get cash, or get cards, or whatever. And my principal had a talk with me in the hallway, and he's like, "Now, are you lying to me?" And I was hiding the cards under my sweater. And his name's Mr. Rossi. Shout out to Mr. Rossi from Luxton School. I know, back in Winnipeg when it was the good old days. Obviously, I'm still more than grateful to mention the communities that helped me build and develop. But he was so funny because I was hiding these cards in my sweater pocket, and I told him, no, I don't have any cards. And as he was about to leave, all the cards, like 500 card sleeves, like fell out under my pocket, and he was like, go to the office. And I got in so much shit. Good times. I don't know why they were against it. It's like we're outside playing with cards. Like, what's the big... Oh, probably because it's gambling. Who knows? People are fucked.
Worshipping the devil.
Maybe. Well, Mr. Rossi's a good guy, and I hope he is doing well to this day. Now, out of the new systems that came out within the past 2 years, which one's been the biggest disappointment?
I would have to say the Xbox SAD edition.
What's the difference between Series 1 on Xbox One anyways?
Well, the one I'm talking about is the Xbox One that came out that didn't have a drive. It was the all-digital edition, and you abbreviated it, and it was the Xbox SAD edition. It was really funny.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, I would say that's probably, to me, I never used one, but it seemed the most disappointing out of what came out. Because the Xbox One X was good, and the PS4 Pro was pretty awesome. So.
Awesome, man. Well, I feel like we discussed a lot about gaming and everything. We weren't able to touch up on a few subjects, but before I wrap it up, is there anything else you kind of want to bring up or share?
No, I just, I'm happy to finally have your opinion about the pizza. I've been wondering that for years. Now I know. Deep dish. You're a deep dish person, so that is good to know. Next time, I hope to find out your controversial opinion about pineapple pizza.
Oh, well, I'm going to give that right now. No pineapple on pizza. No.
Oh.
No. I know you're sitting there on the Jersey Shore right now, looking at the beaches during this time, and probably have tons of pizza shops next to you for $1, and you enjoy pineapple on pizza. But I don't get it. A lot of the New Jersey people do that too. I love you guys, but no pineapple on pizza. It seems like every person so far from there has enjoyed pineapple on pizza, and you continue to be one of them. Why do you like it? Why?
Well, it's a simple fact, Jordan. It's delicious. So, you just have to understand that, and you'll be fine. But the funny thing is that you're a Canadian, and you don't like the Canadian invention of Hawaiian pizza.
That's not Canadian. It's Hawaiian.
No, it was invented by a Canadian, Jordan.
Are you serious?
Wikipedia, who invented Hawaiian-style pizza, and I believe it was a guy from Ontario.
Huh. Well, that's probably why it's not good.
The internet said it, so it must be true, Jordan. Albert Einstein said that.
Well, what if I told you guys I am the intern? I'm just kidding. No, I'm not. I wish. Actually, no, terrifying. I don't. That would be terrifying. I don't know. It's like make me mayor of any city. Can you imagine? It'd be crazy. How much change would happen? I'm just kidding. Anyways, there, Stuart, you've been amazing. We love having you call in. You're welcome to call in anytime, and I appreciate the good vibes and the great support.
Thanks for having me on, man.
Jordan Garber Now is back with our first New Jersey-based wrestling interview, and it's a good one. None other than Nikos Ricos here on the program. Nikos, this is your debut. How you doing, my man?
It's my debut, but according to your introduction, it's also the debut of somebody who's representing New Jersey.
That is correct.
So, the pleasure is clearly all yours.
And the pleasure is yours as well. Where is your place of location right now? Where are you recording this from in your studio?
Okay, right now I'm sitting in a parking lot in Middletown, New Jersey, at a Target, staring at an Exxon sign, reading the prices.
What's the first restaurant from you right now for drive-through?
I don't think this counts. There's a Dunkin' Donuts literally facing me. Let's see, drive-through? Oh my God. Actually, all right, so there's nothing in front of me then. I was trying to think of what would be next if I drove further down, but technically there's literally nothing in front of me but an Exxon station, some guy smoking, and a Dunkin' Donuts. Wow. So if you want to count the D&D, then yeah, it would be that.
Love Dunkin' Donuts. Big fan every time I visit the United States. But you definitely have a story to tell here on the program. And it's all up to your mentor, where it all began with none other than Dan Maff. Huge mentor to your career. And it all began with him. So can you kind of share your first memories of meeting the guy for the first time, maybe some first impressions, and then how the in-ring work made you adjust to the business and everything?
Okay. In the event that he heard this, if he hears math, he'll probably want to find you and throw you from one country to the other. So just to be clear, it's Moff.
Moff, I can edit that. Dan
Moff. No, keep it in there. Keep it in there, because hopefully he'll hear this and get fired up. Like Moff Gideon, if anybody's watching Mandalorian right now. So, yeah, my training started in 2013. With WrestlePro, aka Creative Pro New Jersey. There's also Creative Pro New York. That one is run by Pat Buck and Brian Myers, formerly known as Kurt Hawkins. The New Jersey one was run, still is, by Pat Buck. And when I started, the trainers were also Dan Moff and Mario Boccara. So the three of them have really been a huge influence. Pat, Dan, and Mo. Danny in particular, though, I gained a different relationship with because he decided, after seeing me in practice and working with me enough, that he just liked my drive and whatnot. So there was at some point early on in my career where he took me under his wing. I started to hit the road with him. driving him around and whatnot, not doing the whole carrying bags things. That's way ancient. But yeah, I was driving him around. But even a classy veteran like him, he was still putting the gas in there. So it wasn't like this old, I was destroying my car, carrying his bags and all this stuff. It was totally worth it. He introduced me to a lot of people and whatnot. And I keep learning from him. Right now, I'm not currently training at a school like every week. Create Pro New Jersey / Wrestle Pro, which I can't recommend enough. They have a new format for newer students. So for me being, I don't know, somewhat of a veteran by now, I'm not there. But I can't recommend it enough for new people, especially learning under Pat, who's a producer in WWE at the moment. But with Moff, yeah, he just saw something in me, and since then, I mean, we're actually working on a project right now together that hopefully will be unveiled in the coming months with him, myself, and a few other wrestlers. There's been hints about it on social media. So hopefully this will come together sooner rather than later.
And to correct myself here, I'm going to call him Mafia Mac. Just to protect myself, he's also known as Mafia, too. Like, he's wrestled since 1999. And I remember, like, watching Ring of Honor. I always thought it was that. How could I think that for 8 years? Anyways,
Yeah.
You definitely had all that mentorship and everything, and then like let's talk about in the beginning now, going on the road and everything and learning the rules of the road. Like you're on the East Coast, you're passing through many cities, towns, things along those lines. Like what are some like stories that kind of made you love the business even more? Kind of just like you could just look back at it and like reflect upon and smile at.
That's a good question. That's a really good question. In terms of, I mean, there's the simple stuff where there really isn't a story attached. There's simply just sharing the car ride with somebody who, I genuinely like love and whatnot, and it's vice versa. So it's like, it's an enjoyable time. There's no nerves of like, oh, I can't look them in the eye. I can't, like there's been times where I drove guys back to their hotels and whatnot, like, whatever, Mick Foley and Al Snow, and there's a little bit of nerves there because you just, want to do the right thing and be like uber professional. But with him, it's the little things where it's not really a story, but even if it's just messing around with him. I mean, being on the road with him and Sean Donovan, and he's hungry trying to order at Arby's, and I was literally taking the mic away from the kid who's trying to place the order. Like, there's a mic to the back.
Trying to cut a promo.
Literally taking the mic out of the kid's face. And it got him mad enough to like push me or like hit me or whatever it was. But I mean, just traveling in general, whether it was him or not, I mean, just the matches and the experiences, like, when you start to work with guys that, were on TV and you have those experiences along the way, like working with Bull James at the world famous Monster Factory under Danny Cage and gaining that experience. And, Bull's a guy who to this day will send me a message here and there if he has seen something, for me that, comes to mind. I mean, then there's just moments where, for me, the most important stuff or the biggest stuff is when I feel like I had a match that made me realize maybe I was getting to another level. Again, going back to him, especially, I guess, since you asked about him, but a couple of years ago, I think it was, maybe last year, I don't even remember, I did have a match with Danny, and afterwards which has happened before, but in particular after this one, it felt really special, so I kind of broke down afterwards, and because it just felt like me personally, as hard as I am on myself, I had felt like I had just gotten to kind of like another level, and like he loved it and whatnot. So that's always the best feeling, is the feeling of accomplishment. So it's hard to pinpoint exact matches. And then there's cool moments like winning titles here and there. One of my favorite moments, on a side note, is I was working up for the Rock's family, Samu, up in Pennsylvania. And it's basically for the Samoans, WCW, it's WXCW, I think. Yeah, and there was a moment where, me, I just like to interact with kids for the most part, do something dickish. And there was just one kid in particular, and I usually like to try to let kids down as best I can. Like, they want a high five, and I pull back. maybe make them sit down, tell them they're adopted, something to, if I could hurt their feelings, of course, and then in turn make them boo me more. But this one kid in particular, I saw that he was in a wheelchair, so I'm like, and he had his hand out, so I was like, I can't really, and I remember thinking, like, I got to give this kid something. I just can't do my usual routine. And I remember like his hand was all like kind of shriveled up. I don't know what disease he had, but clearly he was not doing good. And I just kept telling him, like, I'll give you a handshake, just don't squeeze my hand. And I kept emphasizing that, like, all right, kid, catch on, And when he did, he squeezed my hand as best he can, and I overreacted, and I was selling it a few minutes into the match. And afterwards, about a week later, his father found me on Facebook Messenger, messaged me, and thanked me because his son had went on and on about hurting a pro wrestler, quote unquote, and his son has spina bifida, so he can't walk.
Oh my God.
So hearing about that, I knew the kid was in a wheelchair. I didn't know what though. So hearing that, come back to me, like that's a small moment. It's not a locker room moment. It's not a road moment really, but it's a moment at a show that I just remember, and realizing that as corny as it sounds, the impact that it can have on people, you forget because you're thinking about your performance and whatnot, but you forget the impact you can have on one person, nonetheless a whole crowd of people. And that's ultimately the goal, is I always want to make people feel the way that I felt and still feel while watching pro wrestling.
You know what, man? That's exactly what it's all about. And that's why wrestlers lace up their boots and go into the ring and perform for the fans. And that's why that dream exists. And there's wrestlers that make it, and there's wrestlers that don't make it. And a story like that is absolutely touching, and makes me want to thank you for all your contributions that you've given to the pro wrestling industry. And thinking of contributions, WrestlePro, you have been there from the start of the product until huge developments, even partnering with Impact Wrestling. Can you tell us about the evolution with you and that company?
Yeah, I was with WrestlePro before it was WrestlePro, when it was under its former name, PWS, and then that went away, and then it became, the school name is Creative Pro New Jersey, again, because we have another one in New York, in Long Island, and WrestlePro is like the company per se, like the actual promotion. Like I said, I started off there. A few months before that, in 2013, I did a week of training in a backyard with Robbie E., who is now Robert Stone. I look back and I kind of laugh at that because it was just one of those. It was interesting.
He's a nice guy.
I've seen him at shows since then. I did see him briefly when I was in Florida last year, and he said hi. And so in a funny way, I'm like, I did 3 days with Robbie E., and then I went to WrestlePro months later, when I realized I needed a consistent weekly thing. So I've been with them since day one, and I've learned such invaluable lessons from Pat, from Moff, from Mo, from Kevin Matthews as well, and then students that were already and still are above me in experience. Like a guy like there's Sean Donovan, who I've learned from, Anthony Bowens, who just debuted in AEW within the last month.
I've seen that.
Along with Max Caster. And Caster came from our New York school, as well as Kristen Statlander. But in terms of with Impact, we've WrestlePro has partnered with them in the past. One of our guys, not like student or anything, but Falaba, has been with Impact now for quite some time. He's been coming up through the ranks there for the last handful of years now. But we've done joint shows with them where they filmed a couple matches at our show for Impact Television at the time, and then we did a live Twitch thing with them as well, which was my first introduction to even finding out what Twitch was. So that was cool. I got to do a mixed tag match and work with Pepper Parks and his wife Allie, who are now in AEW and the Butcher and the Blade. That was a cool experience, and I just did Impact just last. It's crazy how this year has been. That was last December. I did a match on Explosion. That's on their Impact Plus. It was me and Justin Carino against McIntosh and Buster Jackson, and that was a really cool experience to be able to officially be in the Impact, in an Impact arena and working officially, for them. So yeah, it's just another invaluable experience.
Now, here's a fun question. You were on WWE Raw for a minute. 1 minute. When you went backstage, how much buzz did you get on your phone after, just for being on television for a minute?
No, I mean, each time that I was on, I know it was going to come up as well, but months before that, when I worked with Keith Lee in NXT, and then when I was on Raw as one half of the East Hampton Polo Boys with my fellow buddy Bobby Wayward against the Viking Raiders. I mean, each time, your phone blows up, whether it's family, friends, clients of mine, because I'm a personal trainer, and then, just get random people that just noticed you, you know what I mean? And new follows on social media. I mean, it's all positive. There's nobody reaching out saying, I hate that you had this experience, screw you. Everybody's super cool about it, really supportive. And that was pretty cool the night, more so with Keith Lee, because I really didn't tell anybody about it, minus, people close to me. That. So, yeah, it popped up, and, nobody in WrestlePro except for a few people knew. So they didn't know, and they quickly put a post together with my screenshot, which I thought was just awesome. So, yeah, I mean, it was a minute. I'm probably each one was a minute or less, but either way, it's just goes back to, there's one thing I remember hearing multiple times. One of my idols, Chris Jericho, say, and he's like, he's said over the years he's heard guys complain about, I only have X amount of time, or I only have a minute to do this, and his take was, hey, you have a minute. He's like, you have one full minute. He goes, make what you do count. Take advantage of that minute. That's 60 whole seconds to do, to make that yours. And even I went back to WWE right around the time I did the Viking Raiders match, and I was a security guard. And even then, it's all right, you're a security guard, but, you don't half-ass it. Whether you're yourself, where you're in a match or tag team match or, whatever it may be, a dark match, it's it doesn't matter. As long as you're putting 100% into it and doing exactly what you're told, it's 100% worth it.
It's absolutely an amazing experience being an extra. It's definitely a goal for myself along the road once I put on some weight and can get back in the ring as a ref again. Because even if you're not in the ring having that experience, you have an exclusive experience backstage helping set up, and you're getting a very good hourly rate. So it's definitely worth the experience, and every wrestler should be working towards it. That's what it's all about.
I mean, you show up, you stay out of the way, and then you sit in catering. And they have incredible catering. So
what kind of catering? Are you getting any subs? Are you getting burgers?
Dude, there's everything. I mean, I'm being sarcastic as if that's the reason to go. But no, I just remember once we were, the first time we had the one match, when we went back for security, my friend Bobby and I were like, all right, we know what we're doing. Let's go hit catering. I mean, it was just, we figured, hey, we only have to wear all black, so let's not worry about being bloated. So literally, I mean, it's everything under the sun. It's different meats, it's pastas, it's cookies, it's cakes, it's, a bunch of different drinks. There's fruit, there's cereal, you can make sandwiches. I mean, granted, you're not about to step in front of, Bruce Pritchard online, you're going to wait your turn and go up last or whatever, timing wise. But, that's jokingly, it's oh, I can't wait to go to the catering. But no, obviously you're not there for that. That's just an incredible added bonus. That's all.
Absolutely. And congrats for all that success, especially on Keith Lee and everything. All that momentum that you gained through Impact, through WWE, and then going on an independent show. Is there anything that you took away from that experience that you brought on to the next show that you had?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing to take away from those larger experiences was motivation. It wasn't just necessarily, I learned this new technique or whatever. It was more so being in the arena, just watching them set this thing up, watching rehearsals, watching the littlest things, sitting down and watching them just rehearse Dexter Lumis and Priest's entrance. And you just realize, you go, wow, it's just the work that goes into this, and you could tell how much they care about every performer. The amount of times I saw some of these entrances rehearsed and lighting just get tested. It's you can tell, it's they're really pulling out all the stops to make sure everybody looks like as much of a star as possible. And it was more so just motivating just to be there, just to look around and, you know, see the faces, watch the work that gets put into it, and just see like, okay, like this is where I need to be, like on a regular basis. So this is what I need. You know, it's more so extra motivation. So, and it was cool to be able to interact with, obviously, the guys you're working with and see how it works with a producer, and how they relay messages and what they're looking for you to do and blah, blah, blah. So, you know, making them happy is obviously the goal as well. But again, it was more so motivation for me, like walking out there each time, whether it was NXT or Raw, and realizing, okay, like I need to, like feeling good, like all right, I want to come back here. So it was more so the biggest takeaway for me was increased motivation. Like, all right, I know what it's like to be here 2 or 3 times. Now I want to, like, this is a shot in the ass to, you know, put in the work and make this, you know, my full-time gig.
So for all of our listeners here, most of our listeners here are in New Jersey. Where can people in New Jersey, you know, check out where you wrestled, you know, let's say after the pandemic? Where are some great promotions people can check out, maybe even online, and look back into the archives?
Yeah, I mean, I need to do a better job and clean up and update my my YouTube page. But like, I know if you type in my name, Nikos Rikos, like different matches from different promotions will pop up. But specifically WrestlePro, first and foremost, that's my, you know, you want to call it the home promotion, I guess. There's the Monster Factory, of course. There's been so many guys that have come out of there that are on TV, like Matt Riddle and Steve Cutler and Damian Priest, and I know Sheamus did some training there back in the day, and Big Show and whatnot. So there's a lot of that have come out of there. But I've worked for them before on a consistent basis, obviously all this crap going on. There's TCW, Titan Championship Wrestling. They just stopped running last month. They were running literally up until the middle of November as best they could, because there was all outdoor shows, of course, so then you have to respect this cold weather. So yeah, there's Titan, there's Monster Factory, there's WrestlePro, there's IWA, Intense Wrestling Alliance. I just wrestled for them last month. The match I had with the kid that I beat the living. Can I curse on here? If I say shit.
Yeah, you can say whatever you want.
Okay,
man.
I can say okay. This one kid that I beat the living shit out of, Brandon, looking forward to watching that match back. He might have some marks on his body. That was an uncomfortable match to watch.
Was he 120 pounds like me?
Yeah.
Oh,
so
fuck. I don't even want to watch that then, man.
11. He's posted photos of his chest and back, and it's people have asked me, what did you hit him with? I was like, my hand. But yeah, like IWA comes to mind, Titan, WrestlePro, Monster Factory. I'm definitely leaving out some just because I'm on the spot trying to run through places in my head. But on my social media, I'm always updating when matches are coming along. Right now, the big thing on the horizon is going back to Alaska with WrestlePro in April for another tour over there.
That must have been interesting because, like, Alaska, you're going to a total different market. It's almost like, well, the tour I did in February.
Yeah, like I've been there
Going
twice. Yeah, I've wrestled there twice. You know, Alaska is interesting. It's you feel like you're in like a different part of like the entire world. It doesn't even feel like you're even in like the U.S. Like it's such a long flight, and then everything over there is just, you know, I mean, obviously there's Dunkin' Donuts and all the usual stuff, Targets, but just like all the mountains and the views and whatnot, like it's just really an interesting place. And you know, like one of the times we went, the weather was kind of like it is here on the East Coast. It was like, you know, getting dark around the same time. It wasn't too crazy. And then the last time I went back, it was like dark all the time. So it's just really, it's an interesting place, but fun. I mean, it's a different place to go. Wrestling does not end up there a lot. WWE hasn't been there, I think, in the better half of 10 years, because to get the equipment over there is a bitch. So fortunately, we partnered up with one of the only wrestling companies over there, and we use their stuff. So, you know, with wrestling not being very big over there, you know, we do well. Like a lot of, we like do draw awesome, like hyped up, big crowds over there. So it's always a cool experience just because the fans are so hungry for it, and it gives them something new to do in that state. And I feel like there's not a whole lot to do if you live there. That's just me, though.
Hey, at least you get a lot of scenery, and at the end of the day, it's so amazing to work in front of amazing, amazing crowds. And speaking of amazing crowds, where can our audience follow you on social media and follow your matches?
Yeah, on Instagram and Twitter, it's the same handle. It's at OPA, OPA, _ Nikos Rikos, Nikos Rikos. And on Facebook, it's Nikos Rikos, but I don't really know who communicates through that. So, yeah, or, looks up my stuff. So, Instagram, Twitter, like I said, there's Facebook. I got to get better with the YouTube page. I do have a YouTube page. I haven't even looked at it in God knows how long. So, I'm sure it's all old stuff. But if you just type my name into YouTube, obviously, my matches will come up. But definitely, I'm always posting. If there's a show coming around, which there's not much of them going on right now, I'm always updating my social media so people know where I'm coming, where I'm going to be at.
Well, Nikos, I want to thank you very much for your time here on the Jordan Garber Now podcast. You're welcome again anytime. Thanks for being the first interview from New Jersey here on the show.
Thank you, and you're welcome.
Are you that wrestling fan looking for that perfect television package to meet your needs? Well, Real Aid Media has the perfect option for you. With the Wrestling Box promo, you pay for the box for $199.95. After that, you're only paying $29.95 per month with no contracts and no obligations. Real Aid Media also provides marketing services operating in 5 countries. To book an appointment or to get your wrestling package, go to stevenbenzelock.bookify.com. That's Steven Benzelock at bookify.com. Check it out. Real Aid Media, providing great wrestling content for a cheap price.